So this is a little video to help you with keys and key signatures. So how do you work out the key of a piece of music? Say you've got a piece of music in front of you and you see these sharp signs. How are you going to work out what key this piece of music is in? Or let's say in a question in your theory, you've got a piece in D flat major. How many flats are in D flat major? And what about relative major and relative minor keys? What does this mean? What is a relative major and what is a relative minor? So first of all, you need to know what a key signature actually is and where it is in the music. So a key signature is the group of sharps or flats that appear at the beginning of every line of music and tells us which notes in the music need to be flattened or sharpened. So for instance, in this music here, the key signature is this group of flats at the beginning of every line, right next to the clef, treble clef or bass clef. And now we have an example of a key signature with sharps. So we have 4 sharps there. So first of all, when we do not have any flats or sharps in the key signature, the major key is C major, and we need to just remember that. So let's start with the sharps. So the key with 1 sharp is G major. The key with 2 sharps is D major. So if we carried on, all the keys and key signatures with the sharps in look like this. So we have C major, G major, which has 1 F sharp, D major, which has F sharp and C sharp in the key signature, A major, E major, B major, F sharp major. And this is a lot to learn, to memorise, so luckily there is a method to work these out. First of all, you need to know the order of the sharps, and this little phrase, Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket, is a nice phrase to remember, and it tells us the order of the sharps. So the first letter of each word spells out the sharps. So the first one is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and B sharp. So Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket. So how do you work out the key from the key signature? So to work out the major key linked to the sharps in the key signature, you focus on the last sharp. So you can see the ones in the red circle, the last sharp. Now using our phrase, Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket, we can work out the name of that last sharp. So we have Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket. Now that you have the name of the last sharp, you work out the note above this, and this is the name of the major key. So for instance, Father, F sharp, go up 1 note, G major. Christmas, C sharp, go up 1 note, D major. Gives, G sharp, up 1 note, A major, and so on. So you just go up 1 note in the scale, B turns to C sharp. Okay, so the last 2, F sharp major and C sharp major, are not just F major and C major because they already have an F sharp in the key signature, the F sharp being the first sharp and C sharp being the second sharp. But these are not very often used, so usually there won't be that confusion. Here are a few questions to see if you've understood. What is the key of this piece? So first of all, we find the last sharp in the key signature. There it is. We need to remember the phrase, Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket. And we find that there are 4 sharps, so therefore the 4th sharp is D sharp. We then have to go up 1 note, higher than D sharp, and you get E. Therefore, the key with 4 sharps is E major. What's the key of this piece? This is the last sharp, the only sharp, so this must be F sharp, being father. Go up one note higher than F sharp and you get G. Therefore, the key with one sharp is G major. To help us understand a little bit more about the background of why it is an F sharp that makes G major, we have a scale here. So we've got the notes of the scale starting with G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp and G. So therefore the F sharp is the only note that is sharpened in the scale of G major, and it makes sense when you sing it. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. If you didn't have that sharp, it would go G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which doesn't sound like the major scale. So that's why we have to put that F sharp in. So another example, what is the key of this piece? Find the last sharp. There are two sharps, so this must be C sharp. Go up one note higher than C sharp and you get D. Therefore, the key with two sharps is D major. And here is a scale of D major. So we've got D, E, F sharp, otherwise it would sound D, E, F, which is definitely not major, that would be minor. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And you've got your two sharps there, the F sharp and the C sharp, and that makes the major scale. So what if you wanted to find out how many sharps there were in a key? So previously we were given the sharps and then told to work out the key. Now we're being given the key and we have to work out how many sharps. So we would need to reverse the process. So how many sharps does E major have? So first of all, we have to go down one note. So E, down to D. So let's think of our phrase, Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket. So we have to find D in that phrase. And as we can see, it is the fourth sharp in the sentence. Therefore, E major must have four sharps, as if we've got D sharp, F sharp, C sharp and G sharp are also in that key signature, because it always goes in that order. So F sharp, C sharp, G sharp and D sharp. So far we have worked out keys from sharps. So what I would suggest you do is pause the video and recap, try some out, try and do your own questions, like say how many sharps is E major, how many sharps is D major, and see if you can work it out. You know, what would the key be if it had 5 sharps in it? Now we're going to go on to what about flats? Flats in the key signature. So first of all, we need to learn the order of the flats in the key signature. So the order of the sharps was Father Christmas gives Dad an electric blanket. Quite wittily, the order of the flats has a following sentence. So what happens when Dad gets an electric blanket from Father Christmas? Well, the blanket explodes and Dad gets cold feet. So the first letter of each of those words is the flat. B, E, A, D, G, C and F. Once you've memorised the order of the flats, you can then work out the keys. With F major, you just have to remember that it has one flat in the key signature. So like C major, where you have to remember that it has no flats or sharps, F major has one flat. And there doesn't seem to be any pattern to this. Yes, you could say, okay, F major, go up 4 notes, including the F. F, G, A, B. So that B would be flattened. But most people find that they can just memorise it as it is. So when you have 2 or more flats, you can ignore the last flat in the key signature. This is the next process to find the key. So we're going to cover up that last flat in the key signature. Then we are going to work out the name of the flat next to that last flat, and this is your key. So the flat that is now the last one, because the last one is actually covered over. So we've just circled the new last flat, and we have to use our blanket explodes and Dad gets cold feet. So we have a B flat, so of course that's B flat major, E flat, which is E flat major, A flat major, D flat major, G flat major, and C flat major. So the last flat you cover, the new last flat, if you work out the name of that last flat, you then have the name of the major key. It's as simple as that. C flat major, don't worry about it. This key is practically non-existent as you using every note as a flat. Let's try another example. So what is the major key that has 3 flats? So what do we do first? We have to cover over the last flat and then find out the flat next to this. So we have 2 flats, so therefore blanket explodes, so it's an E flat, therefore the answer is E flat major. Another one, what is the major key that has 5 flats? Let's work it out. So we cover the last flat, circle the next flat along. Okay, we've got 4 flats, so blanket explodes and Dad, so D flat, therefore the answer is D flat major. So let's turn this around. How many flats are there in A flat major? To work this out, we need to reverse the process, just as we did with the sharps. So here's our phrase, blanket explodes and Dad gets cold feet. We find A flat on our sentence and work out that it is the 3rd flat. So we're looking for A flat major. We then add on another flat. Remember in the last process we had to cover over 1 flat, so now we have to add on that one. And the next one, of course, is the D flat. So therefore we have 4 flats, B flat, E flat, A flat and D flat. Therefore A flat has 4 flats in the key signature. So summary, to find out the keys with sharps, find the last sharp in the key signature, and the key is the note above this. So therefore, if there was just F sharp in the key signature, you'd go up 1 note and you get to G, which is G major. To find out keys with flats, ignore the last flat, cover it over, and work out the flat next to it, and this is the key. For instance, if you had B flat, E flat, and A flat in the key signature, you cover over the A flat, that's why that's in brackets, and the next flat next to it, the one in red here, would be E flat major. To find out how many flats or sharps there are in the key, reverse the process. So for instance, flats, add on the extra flat to the key. For sharps, go down 1 note, and this is the last sharp, so then you can work out the other sharps from that. C major and F major do not work with the above method, you just need to memorise them. So C major has no flats or sharps, and F major has 1 flat. So this is a lot to take in. We've got a method for the sharps in the key signature, and we have a method for the flats in the key signature. And you have to remember that if you want to do it the other way, you have to reverse the process. So for instance, to find the key in sharps, you go up 1 note from the last sharp. If you want to find the number of sharps in a key, you have to go down 1 note, and then that is the last sharp. So it's like a reverse process. So here's a nice time to pause the video and go over the other sections if you are not sure about them. Read it over several times, and then hopefully when you have learnt this and you know exactly what you're doing, we can move on to the next one, which is, be careful, this method only works for major keys. So what we've been talking about for the whole of this video is A flat major, C major, G major, so nothing about minor keys. So for minor keys you need to work out the relative major before applying the above method. We need to convert it into the major key before we can work out how many flats and sharps. So first of all, what does relative major and relative minor mean? So it means that every key signature has both a major and a minor key associated with it. So here we've got a range of key signatures. Starting in the middle, we've got no flats and sharps, and then to the right we've got increasing number of sharps, and to the left we have increasing number of flats. So we can work this out very slowly individually, but here is all the major keys above the key signatures. And here are the minor keys. Again, we could just memorise all this. But it's interesting to note that if you look at, say for instance, C major, right in the middle, C, and then you look down and you see A minor. If you compare the major keys with the minor keys, you'll see that the minor keys are 3 semitones lower than the major keys. So C, B, B flat, A, or the G, G, F sharp, F, E. So the distance between the major keys at the top and the minor keys at the bottom are the same. So we can use this to our advantage. So, for instance, G major and E minor share the same key signature. So that means that they are related to each other. And that's why we say that G major is the relative major of E minor, and that E minor is the relative minor of G major, because they are related in the fact that they share the same key signature. So here's a scale of G major. This is to illustrate it a bit more. So we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So we've got one sharp in the key signature. And this is a scale of E minor. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. So they share the same notes, but they start in a different place. So E minor starts on the E. You've still got the F sharp, but it sounds different because we started in a different place. So what would be the relative minor of C major? So without looking at that sheet previously and memorising it all, we have to remember to go down 3 semitones. So here we go. We've got the picture of the piano keyboard in front of us. Start with C on the keyboard. So that's circled in red. We now have to count down 3 semitones, not including the original C. So we've got B for 1, B flat or A sharp for 2, and A for 3. So we have reached A on the keyboard, which is the relative minor of C major. Let's try another example. What is the relative minor of A flat major? So here's our piano again. We find A flat on the keyboard and we count down 3 semitones, not including the original A flat. So G, F sharp or G flat, F. So we have reached F on the keyboard, which is the relative minor of A flat major, F minor. Let's try it the other way, converting a minor key into a major key. What is the relative major of C sharp minor? So let's find C sharp, then count up 3 semitones, not including the original C sharp. Because we're in a minor key and we've got to convert to a major key, we've got to do the reverse. We've got to go up 3 semitones and not down. 1, 2, 3. So therefore, we have reached E on the keyboard. So E major is the relative major of C sharp minor. So hopefully that will help you if we give you a question, something like how many flats does a minor key have? You have to convert it to the major, go up 3 semitones, and then you can use the methods we've said about flats to find out how many flats we have. So here are the questions, and just pause the video and try and write them down. How many sharps are there in D major? So you have to go back to the beginning of the video where I was talking about working out the sharps in the key signature, finding the major, or the other way round. Which major key has 5 flats? So that's the second part of our video, talking about how do you work out the flats and the keys. What is the relative major of F sharp minor? That was just what we've just covered in the last bit of the video. And what is the relative minor of D flat major? The last one, how many flats are there in F minor? So we have to convert to the major first and then find out how many flats. And that's the end of the video.